Hey everyone, so I've just heard the news that Elon Musk has officially taken over Twitter. He's now the owner, and as one of his first acts he fired a bunch of high-level executives. Not just him, but a number of other people. He's in fact aiming to fire 75% of the staff, that's what he said. I don't know which 75%, but this is what he started with. So the CEO, Parag Agrawal, I think his name was. Don't know much about him, but obviously Indian CEO. There was some other guy, some girl who was the general counsel who, amongst other things, said that, or decided that Donald Trump would be banned for life. Now I don't know that that's why he fired her. It could just be that he wanted to get rid of all the top executives and then perhaps hire some different people. And they all got huge payouts as part of their firing. So they were getting $100 million, $280 million, all that sort of stuff. Just ridiculous sums of money. And of course, it's pretty obvious Elon Musk overpaid for getting Twitter. He's the richest man in the world. I suppose he can afford it. But he would be looking at getting money back from that. So let's now look at what he's aiming to get from this. First thing is that he's talking about freedom of speech, and he has said that part of that freedom of speech is banning bots. So whether he'll ban every single bot or just have a no bots allowed policy, or just get rid of the more troublesome ones, we're not quite sure. He did explicitly say that, or at least earlier, that he would ban Bot Sentinel, which certainly, based on what I've recently found out about it, seems to be a good idea. I'd in fact think that it would be a good idea to ban all bots. There are a lot of bots that a lot of their purpose is to spread discontent and, start arguments on Twitter. And so banning them would be a really good idea. I think that, just a blanket ban on all bots, I think would be great. There's probably going to be some that'll slip through. And there might be some reason why he thinks that it's legitimate to have some, but I think the general idea is that bots create inauthentic experiences. You're not even dealing with real people, you're dealing with accounts that in many cases are created just to cause problems. So bots equals trolling, bots equals spamming, bots equals scamming, bots equals terrible time for everyone except for whoever created the bot who's laughing their head off. So I think that there is a significant connection between bots and bad stuff. Now he in turn has said apparently that he wants to have bans be done by bots, which I think is a bad idea, but that's what he said he's going to do. But at least it will be better than having things like Bot Sentinel suggesting bans. So how we go about that, we don't know, but he's also looking at having more freedom of speech with what people can say. He's of course said that right-wing people have had a hard time, and I think that's pretty well documented, not just in Twitter, but in Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. That if you in any way speak on the right side of politics or in support of the right side of politics, you tend to get treated a lot worse. And I don't know that this has always been the case, but it seems like it has been since probably about 2012, around about that time, and increasingly so. And part of this has been where, and I think Facebook is the worst at doing this, where they've sort of tailored the experiences so that they become little more than echo chambers, and then after doing that, they then say, well, you're right-wing, we're going to get rid of you. And they get rid of the right-wing people, don't get rid of the severe left-wing people. And arguably, both severe right and severe left are bad. So, but arguably, Facebook at least have been targeting people and pushing them towards certain extreme views. So, you might have just been a tiny bit on the right side, or you might have just been right curious and suddenly you're a right extremist and then they ban you. So, arguably, they have a lot to blame for that. So, anyway, I'm not sure which side of politics Musk is on. I'd always thought he was on the left. Some people are claiming he's on the right. I don't think he's publicly said, but he seems to me to be somewhere close to the middle. So he would ban all the bots, including Bot Sentinel. I'd even say especially Bot Sentinel. And he's also banning the moderation team, which I think is a great move. I think start again. He will obviously have moderators. You need moderators on a social media network, otherwise there will be problems. And you need to have the law, at the very minimum, the law followed, like the law in USA and other international laws need to be followed. How much further you go is an issue. That's the question. The minimum, you need to follow the law. So he can't just have this as a lawless place. He needs to follow the law. So when he gets rid of them, he needs to replace them with someone. So that's going to happen. He's definitely going to follow the law. He's not a lawless person. But, you know, there is a big grey area where you go from following the law to creating your own law on top of that. And a lot of social media places, certainly at the moment, go far beyond what the law requires, and they create their own laws. And look, that's allowed, but it's arguably quite problematic. So he's looking at toning it back a bit and becoming kind of like what Facebook was like in 2012. If anyone was on Facebook in 2012, they were not very pushy with their moderation, and I don't think Twitter was either. So he's looking to go back to that, still following the law, but not creating his own heavy-handed dictatorship sort of style that I think Twitter and other places were like, or have become like. And will he unban Donald Trump? I think he has to. And I think but when he does it, there's a way that he has to do it. And I've talked about this before, but I think that he needs to do it from the point of view of, number one, he was the sitting president when he was banned. Now, he might have been in the turnover stage, but he was still the president of the country that Twitter was a part of. So on that basis alone, that Twitter had no right to ban him, nor did anyone else for that matter. They had no right to ban their president-in-chief, their commander-in-chief. They're banning him. You can't do that. That'll be like, you know, you're banning your boss from your own team. You get fired for that stuff. So, while of course he was about to lose his job as president soon after, there was no right. They had no right to do that. And yeah, they can say, okay, we believe that he did all this. Well, they had an impeachment trial. He was found not guilty. So could have perhaps justified, all right, we've suspended him pending that. Once he was found not guilty, they should have brought him back. And I think that's your simple thing. But your other thing is, and Twitter and Facebook and all these ones always used to have this policy, they would not interfere with the speech of politicians and public figures. And I think that they have to go back to that. I don't think it matters whether they're left or right. If they're making official statements as a politician, they need to be allowed to make them. And so I would like to see senior politicians, and perhaps they can have a benchmark, being they have to be federal leaders of whichever country, it shouldn't matter which country, should be allowed to speak freely in official capacity without restriction. Because you're never going to have a troll who is a federal politician, who's the president of America or any other country. It's never going to happen. So they need to go back to that. And I'm not. So as part of that, that needs to have an unbanning of Donald Trump. I don't know if there's any other politicians that have been banned, whether they're American or from any other country. They need to be unbanned as well. I would go so far as to unban all other public figures that have been banned. Clear their names, and then I'd actually go further. And I would say, all right, we can't trust that the banning policy was ever accurate. And I would probably even have a fresh slate. And I would unban everybody, no matter what their reason. And then go through, yes, they'd keep that star on their account. And if there was any other problematic issues, we would look at them. But I think that realistically, if he's going to do that, he needs to, I think it is good to unban everyone. Now, don't do it all in one go, but do it in phases. I think people would appreciate that. And then, you know, obviously if they were banned for legitimate reasons or for breaking the law, then their ban should stay. But I think that if they were banned because somebody didn't like them, their ban should not stay. Now, I've never been banned from Twitter, but I think that this is something that needs to be done. And I am hopeful that this will then lead to a safer Twitter. I've never used it because I've known that it was a toxic trolling place full of bullying and really unsafe. But if he puts in place all these policies that he's talking about, I think that it could become a safe place. Really for the first time, because I don't think it's ever been a safe place since it launched. And that in turn, I'm hopeful if he can do this to what is arguably the most toxic and most dangerous social media platform, it could filter through to other social media platforms who would feel pressured, hopefully feel pressured, to behave in a similar way. And I don't think he needs to take over Facebook in order for that to happen, but I think that Facebook would be encouraged to behave in that way. And so I think that, you know, and Facebook I think was very good, at least until about 2015. And then they became very bad with their moderation. And, you know, I certainly can't speak about YouTube, but it seems as if for YouTube they've become bad in the last year or two, or 3 years perhaps. It's hard to be sure, but in terms of moderation, I think that the world's social media are out of control as far as moderation is concerned, and I think that there's certainly the potential that Elon Musk could help to fix that. And so I'm hopeful, but I'm not expecting him to buy all the other ones. I think that'd be a bad thing, but perhaps he can buy that one and then, you know, almost threaten in some way to buy the others if they don't clean up their acts. And hopefully they do clean up their acts. Anyway, that's it from me. Bye bye.